Airo will transform the travel experience. This is the future of Amtrak.
For decades, Americans have been waiting for a train that feels modern, faster, smoother, and just better all around. And now, there's a new one on the way, Amtrak's Airo. It's being hyped as a big step forward, with better comfort and tech upgrades. One of the places it could make a real difference is the Amtrak Cascades corridor, which runs through Oregon, Washington, and up to British Columbia. But here's the big question. Can this new train fix what's been holding the Cascades line back and give riders the kind of experience they've been waiting for? And what are some measures being considered and taken by the relevant parties? Let's dive into today's episode of Great Trainspeed. The Pacific Northwest is set to become the first region in the United States to roll out the Amtrak Airo train sets, marking a monumental leap forward for rail travel along the Cascades corridor. At Siemens' Sacramento facility, production is well underway, with the first Airo train set scheduled for delivery in 2025 for testing and passenger service targeted for early 2026. All 8 train sets will continue arriving throughout that year, gradually building a modern fleet for the corridor. This rollout aligns with Washington's 2019 to 2040 rail plan and the 2024 Cascade Service Development Plan, which call for modern equipment, expanded intercity service, and improved reliability to meet long-term goals. Safety is also a core focus, with the Airo trains meeting the latest crashworthiness standards and replacing older equipment flagged by the NTSB following the 2017 derailment. While initial travel times will remain similar, passengers will notice immediate benefits in comfort, reliability, and sustainability, thanks to features like comfortable seating, onboard Wi-Fi, charging ports, and reduced emissions. In business class, passengers will enjoy a 2+1 seating layout, giving the option of solo seating with additional space, while each train set will seat over 300 passengers, expanding capacity beyond the older Talgo sets currently in service. From an operational perspective, the introduction of the Amtrak Airo fleet is set to improve reliability and maintainability across the Cascades corridor. The current fleet relies on aging Talgo Series 6 and 8 train sets, some over 20 years old, and older Amtrak coaches used in interim service, which have contributed to delays and mechanical issues. The arrival of the Airo fleet will bring fewer mechanical failures and less downtime, allowing passengers to experience greater confidence in on-time performance. Federal officials have noted that these train sets will enable Amtrak to operate more safely, efficiently, and reliably across its network. For Cascades riders, this means fewer cancellations, fewer service disruptions, and a smoother travel experience. Maintenance demands will also decrease as the Airo coaches use standardized, widely available components aligned with other Amtrak services, unlike the niche parts required for the Talgo sets. This will simplify parts sourcing and logistics, while the brand new warrantied fleet will defer heavy maintenance costs for years, reducing operational headaches for Amtrak and its state partners. With all these upgrades, riding on this new train could be an amazing experience. But in reality, will it seriously improve the corridor?
If you typically travel by rail, there's an exciting change coming to Amtrak for commuters in the midst.
One of the main perks of the Airo trains is that they run cleaner and more efficiently with a diesel-electric setup. The new Siemens Charger engines meet strict EPA standards, which means they cut down on pollution a lot. Compared to older diesel engines, these Tier 4 chargers reduce pollution particles by about 90 to 95%, and nitrogen oxides emissions by around 89%. Amtrak Airo will create a lot less air pollution, which helps improve air quality along the route and in station areas, supporting local environmental goals. Plus, the engines are more fuel efficient, using less fuel per mile. And they have cool features like regenerative braking, which saves energy from braking to power the train's systems, saving even more fuel. However, even with these environmental perks, there's a bit of a catch. Since the Cascades route isn't electrified, the Airo trains will only run on diesel. While the Airo series does have versions that can switch between electric and diesel, or even run on batteries in other places, the lack of electrification here means they can't take advantage of those options. This makes it harder to fully tap into the environmental benefits that come with cleaner energy sources. The diesel engines might run on renewable biodiesel, which is a step toward reducing carbon emissions, and both Washington and Oregon are interested in this. But even with that, the overall impact is limited by the fact that the infrastructure isn't set up for full-on electrification. So, while the Airo train sets are a step in the right direction, they won't reach their full environmental potential on this route because of the infrastructure constraints. The Amtrak Airo train sets are built for a top speed of 125 miles per hour, a significant upgrade over the current Cascades equipment. Ideally, this would reduce travel times across the Pacific Northwest corridor. However, the actual speed on the Cascades route is limited by the track conditions and regulations, with a maximum of 79 miles per hour on most segments. Since there are no major track upgrades or electrification planned yet, the new Airo trains will likely operate at similar speeds and schedules as the current Talgo Series 8 sets. While the Airo trains offer improvements in acceleration and handling, thanks to their more powerful Siemens Charger locomotives, the benefits may be less noticeable in terms of travel time savings. The faster acceleration could help keep schedules on track, especially on routes with frequent stops, but it won't lead to faster overall travel. Additionally, the Airo design eliminates the need for lengthy locomotive changeovers on some routes. But since the Cascades route already runs entirely on diesel, no such changeovers are required. In the end, while the Airo trains are faster in theory, the current infrastructure means that the travel time reductions won't be as dramatic as expected at first. Even with all the improvements that the Airo train sets bring, Amtrak Cascades still faces a significant challenge due to sharing tracks with freight companies like BNSF and Union Pacific. Last year, Amtrak Cascades had a 56% rating of on-time performance. The on-time performance standard is 80%, so even if the speed and all the amenities are good, they still have to face problems when it comes to dealing with rail companies. Specifically in 2023, Amtrak Cascades trains were on time only 55% of the time, which is far below the 80% on-time performance standard. A major reason for this low number is the delays caused by freight trains. In fact, freight train interference alone was responsible for 14.9%, 278 hours, of all delays in 2023. Other delays were due to factors like passenger train interference, slowdowns from weather, raised bridges, and congestion. Because BNSF controls both freight and passenger train movements along the Cascades route from its dispatch center in Fort Worth, Texas, they play a key role in determining which trains take priority. Even though Amtrak is trying to improve its performance, freight trains often get priority, which can push Amtrak's trains off schedule. While WSDOT, Washington State Department of Transportation, has negotiated contracts with BNSF to address these issues, BNSF is still responsible for minimizing delays caused by freight trains. If the delays fall below the agreed-upon on-time goal of 88%, BNSF is required to submit corrective action plans to help fix the issue. But despite these agreements, freight companies could still cause delays for Amtrak Airo trains, limiting their potential for improved service and punctuality. So, while the Airo trains bring cleaner, faster service, freight train interference, and the current infrastructure could continue to cause significant delays, keeping the overall benefits from reaching their full potential. Do you think Amtrak Airo can revolutionize the corridor? Drop 1 if you agree, and 0 if you don't. So, are there any initiatives from the government? The Washington Department of Transportation has been planning a call for more trips and faster travel times, tied to investments like new sidings, signals, and higher speed segments. Recently passed House Bill 1837 sets a target of 14 daily Seattle-Portland round trips and 5 daily Seattle-Vancouver trips, aiming to double current service levels. Meanwhile, Amtrak's Sodo Yard in Seattle is preparing to host the Airo fleet, ensuring infrastructure readiness. Although the Airo train sets can reach 125 miles per hour, Cascades will initially operate at current speeds, mostly capped at 79 miles per hour due to track and regulatory limits. There are ongoing studies to explore incremental speed upgrades to 90 miles per hour and an ultra-high-speed corridor with a $50 million federal grant secured for planning. Advocates are calling for 110-mile-per-hour segments to better align with the Airo's potential. But major high-speed projects remain long-term goals. For now, the Airo fleet will improve comfort, reliability, and environmental performance, while aligning with Washington and Oregon's long-term vision for faster, cleaner rail travel when infrastructure is ready to support higher speeds.
At Amtrak, we're not just envisioning the future of rail travel, we're actively building it. That includes station upgrades.
What if we tell you that we could have got the Amtrak Airo, the next gen of American rail, sooner than we thought? Yes. Amtrak's mistakes have caused the late arrival of the Airo train set not once, but at least twice. Amtrak's ambitious Airo project, which was supposed to be the future of American rail, had secretly hit a major roadblock, and a lot of the blame falls on the company's own mismanagement. What was supposed to be a game-changing addition to the rail system was actually delayed, thanks to a string of mistakes that have slowed things down. While the idea of a modern, energy-efficient train system is still an exciting prospect, Amtrak managerial failure has pushed the debut further back. This delay not only messes with plans to improve the nation's rail infrastructure, but also shines a light on some bigger issues within Amtrak's leadership and operations. Let's find out in today's episode. So, one of the early bumps in the road for the Amtrak Airo project happened when they tried to get all the right people involved. An Amtrak Office of Inspector General report shows that Amtrak hit some pretty big snags when it came to reviewing and finalizing designs for key parts of the new train sets. Take the cafe car design, for example. After signing the contract with Siemens, Amtrak's food and beverage team didn't even get a chance to check the design until 3 months later. And when they did, they realized it was a mess. There wasn't enough space for food storage or for passengers to move around comfortably in the galley area. What should have been a simple review turned into a big headache. Amtrak had to redesign the cafe car, which ended up costing an extra $42.5 million and delaying the whole project by 5.5 months. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. This kind of misstep set the stage for more issues to come. The bigger problem here wasn't just the design flaw, it was the lack of communication and planning. If the food and beverage team had been consulted earlier, this whole delay could have been avoided. Instead, the team had to scramble and figure it out much later than they should have. Plus, the $42.5 million extra cost? That just piled on more pressure for a project that was already on a tight budget. It makes you wonder if Amtrak has the resources in place to handle a project as big as the Airo. Little delays add up, and this one showed how easily things can snowball. Looking at the bigger picture, this delay highlights the risk of not getting all the right people involved from the start. It's clear that Amtrak could have been more proactive in addressing these issues, especially when it comes to coordinating between different departments. As they continue with the project, they'll need to step up their internal communication and make sure everyone's on the same page to avoid similar problems down the line. So what was the second delay?
We also have new trains being built in Sacramento, California, and we've kicked off.
The second big delay for the Amtrak Airo project came when the company failed to loop in the right people at the maintenance facilities that were supposed to support the new train sets. While designing the necessary upgrades to these facilities, Amtrak missed the important step of consulting with the folks who'd actually be working there. This became clear in February 2022 when program officials visited the Seattle maintenance facility to check the early designs. It was during this visit that staff on the ground pointed out a critical issue, a design flaw that, if left unchecked, would have caused serious problems for maintenance and operations in the yard. This mistake led to another expensive redesign and, of course, more delays for the already struggling project. The lack of communication between Amtrak's planning team and the maintenance crew is a real red flag. It's concerning that such a big issue only came to light during a site visit, especially when the maintenance team would have been directly impacted by the design. This oversight shows how important it is to collaborate with all the key people from the start, not just the ones in the planning room. Because of this, Amtrak had to hit pause on all the maintenance facility design work in the spring of 2022 and hold workshops at each of the 21 facilities being modified under the Intercity Trainset program. These workshops were supposed to gather input and address concerns, but they also came with a big price tag, both in time and money. Any changes that came out of those workshops could delay things by another 10 to 13 months, adding more strain to a project that was already behind. This ripple effect didn't just affect Seattle, it impacted all 21 maintenance facilities. With so many redesigns needed across the board, the overall timeline for the Airo got pushed even further back. It's another clear example of how failing to plan properly and engage the right people up front can snowball into massive delays, costing more time and money to fix things that could have been caught earlier. This delay also makes you wonder about Amtrak's leadership. For a project this big, missing such a crucial step in the process points to bigger project management issues. As they keep moving forward with the Airo, Amtrak really needs to make sure everyone is involved at every stage, from the planning to the design. If they don't, they're going to keep facing more delays and costs piling up. So are there any other findings in the report? Amtrak has definitely noticed where it went wrong and is trying to get back on track. The company has put in place a more structured program management system, which is now more in line with industry standards. They've also added some much-needed controls for cost, risk, and changes, all in an effort to bring more accountability to the Airo project. By bringing in these best practices, Amtrak hopes to avoid the budget overruns and disruptions that have slowed the development of the new train sets. But, while this is a good start, the report also highlights a big gap that could still trip up the project. Even with the new management framework, Amtrak hasn't yet nailed down a solid plan for engaging stakeholders. This is especially true for the Intercity Trainset program and future big projects. The ongoing struggle to involve the right people early on shows that Amtrak might still be having trouble collaborating effectively with both its teams and external partners. The fact that Amtrak hasn't fixed its stakeholder engagement issues points to a bigger problem within the company. It suggests that their internal systems and culture may not be fully ready to handle something as complex as the Airo. While the new management changes might help with some risks going forward, the company's failure to address communication problems on a deeper level raises doubts about the long-term success of the project. If they don't step up their game in collaboration and communication, they could end up facing more delays, not just with the Airo, but with any future large projects. At the end of the day, the key to getting the Airo project back on track is for Amtrak to learn from its mistakes and put in place long-term solutions. The steps they've taken so far are promising, but if they don't make a real effort to engage all their teams and stakeholders from the start, they could repeat the same mistakes. With so much on the line, financially and operationally, the time to act is now. In conclusion, the development of the Amtrak Airo has been marred by a series of preventable delays and missteps that reflect deeper issues in program management and stakeholder engagement. From design flaws in the cafe car to failures in coordinating with maintenance personnel. These early setbacks have disrupted an ambitious project that could have revolutionized American rail travel. While Amtrak has recognized its challenges and taken steps to improve its management framework, the company's ongoing struggles with stakeholder engagement highlight a critical area that remains unresolved. As Amtrak moves forward with the Airo, it must demonstrate a clear commitment to addressing these fundamental issues. Strengthening internal communication, fostering collaboration across departments, and establishing robust engagement with all key stakeholders will be vital to avoiding further delays and cost overruns. Without these changes, the risk of more setbacks remains high, jeopardizing the future success of the Airo and potentially undermining the broader goal of revitalizing the U.S. rail system. The road ahead is long and fraught with challenges, but with decisive action, Amtrak can still turn this project around. The Airo holds immense potential, not just for the future of rail in America, but for the country's infrastructure as a whole. Whether Amtrak can rise to the occasion remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the time for change is now.